And then I'm going to try to, so welcome to the Geek group. This is where we kind of start over again. And our guest speaker tonight, I want to go ahead and introduce. And here's a little introduction. Oh, we have our disclaimer now, Jim. This is how we know we're moving forward as a Geek group. We now read a disclaimer at the top of the call. So here it is. Topics, properties, and investments discussed are for educational purposes only. We do not sell securities. Each investor is responsible for their own decisions and must evaluate investments according to their investment risk tolerances. Opinions expressed are those of speakers and no one else. So there you go. And then, so here starts my introduction. Jim Stuart is a Canadian business person who has been involved in and runs several successful businesses. Jim's hobby and passion is real estate for the last 30 years, being involved in single-family fix and flips, long-term rentals, land rezoning and land development, and multifamily, both in Canada and the US. Jim's first passion is his family, and those who know him also know he is a big car enthusiast as well. And that introduction is a little bit maybe undertoned. I just want to give a personal plug for Jim. He's been a syndicator for quite some time. He is a sponsor. He is looking for deals. He's even looking for a large number of deals over the next year. So if you're looking into properties and underwriting, this is one of the people you should know. And I also just want to say thank you to Jim. He actually had a flight scheduled for tonight and changed his flight so he could be on the call. And I totally appreciate that. And I'd say that's above and beyond. So thank you, Jim, for that. And then with that said, now, Jim, do you want to talk before I try to run this video, or can I try to run the video first?
You know what? So maybe just give me 30 seconds
Okay.
and then we'll go into it. So I'm here on my notebook, so I don't have the luxury of two screens anymore. So I am going to
just some housekeeping here.
Oh,
do you
sure.
see three dots at the bottom of your screen?
I do see the three dots, yeah.
If you can click on the three dots, there might be a change layout feature that will allow you to see all the photos. Are you seeing all the photos on the call? Which it looks like there's at least 12 on there right now.
Yeah, no, I've definitely got that layout changed. So yeah, I've got that. So we're good that way. It's just when I fire up the PowerPoint, it'll probably take up the whole screen, I would imagine. Is that correct?
And I think because I'm playing the video, you're going to let me share my screen and play the video first, and then I'm going to turn it off, and then you're going to share your screen. Does that sound right?
Sure. And how do I share the screen on this software?
Next to the three dots is a
arrow
rectangle with an arrow.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the present.
Well, let's play the video right now, because this is of the property I'm about to speak about, and this is what we sent out to the investors to give them a visual sense of the property and the location, which is in Chattanooga, just outside of Chattanooga.
Okay. And so if this is the first time I'm sharing a video on the screen, so let's see if I can get this right. Here we go here. Here we go here. Okay, can everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay. There might be some delay, but it usually catches up, is what I've noticed with this system. Okay, so let's try the play here.
Okay.
And I'm hoping everybody can hear the audio. That's one thing I just started to get worried about right now. And I bet there might be some audio sound right there, huh, Jim?
All the way through, actually.
Okay, I'm sorry. So I don't have that part.
Well, we've got some points coming up there anyway along the screen. All right, there we go.
Nice.
So it's kind of like when you watch a horror movie and you turn off the sound, it doesn't have the same effect anymore.
Yes.
But
Sorry about
it's
that.
still no. It's quite all right. But you know what? It visually was good, and we're pretty proud of that video. It really seems to help make an impact for those folks that like a visual, and it really gives them an overview of what it is we're trying to sell or not sell them, but introduce to them. So I'm
And
just
that
gonna,
original link is on the group's shared document there, you guys. So you can see that link later and see it in the better effect.
sure thing. Yeah, perfect. Okay. So Max, what time, just so I can pace myself here, what time do I like is the presentation and question period need to kind of wrap up by?
So you have some options. Everything should wrap up by about 6:20-ish, but you can decide how you want to split up. So you have a full 50 minutes from now.
Okay, sure, fair enough.
Yeah.
So what I was thinking, everyone, is that I would probably talk maybe 20, 25 minutes and then kick into some questions because I'm thinking there could be some questions. If not, I've been known to be able to talk for a little longer, so I can do that as well. Okay, so let me share the screen here. So it'd be your entire screen, I guess. Is that what it is? Okay. And
sometimes it lags a second or two there as it opens.
okay. So let me know if you can see my screen here. I just want to get up here to the top. So can you see it now?
You don't see it yet. So when you click that share, then do you click on the entire screen and say connect or open? Okay.
Yeah, that's what I did. And it's still not there yet, eh? Let's see here. Oh, hold it. Maybe I missed one step there. Share time coincidence. Control the contents of Google. So why?
That sounds like more options than normal.
Let me just start over here.
Okay. If you do the present, you should click on your entire screen, and then I think it opens a window where you click on the box that, because a lot of times you have different tabs open, and you can select the tab that's being shared.
Yeah, so it's coming up here with a, oh, there we go. Okay, got it. So you probably now see yourselves all right now. Sorry about this. I really need to practice on this whole. So can you see a partial window right now?
There we go.
Yep. Okay, perfect. All right, let me expand that. Because I am just running it on my notebook, I'm just going to keep the side slides so I get a chance to know what I've got here. Max already kind of introduced me, and for those of you that were on the sponsorship, you already have seen this as well on that side. And I also talked about where our journey started 30 years ago, my wife and I, with our first 8-suite apartment block 30 years and now 2 months ago, which is crazy when I think about it. The property that I wanted to speak about was until today the last property I closed on, which was July 20th of this year, which is just in, I'll say Chattanooga, but it's on the Georgia side. And being on the Georgia side, it is the Fort Oglethorpe. And that market is doing really, really well. And so here you go. Here's a visual which you saw on the video. And it's a pretty neat little area. The area itself would be considered a C going to a B rapidly. It's older, but a very well kept area. And the services, as you can see in this, we've got a highway running through here, which has got a lot of services and a lot of new things, including a Walmart. Just over here, you can see the Lowe's, the Home Depot, and we're just up over here. So we are approximately, to get down to here, you're about a half a mile in terms of distance. So it's got great access. And to get downtown, right downtown Chattanooga, you're 20 minutes, and you wouldn't know that you crossed the border from Georgia into Tennessee at all. It's just seamless, the whole city. So this particular property, we have 44 units. It was built in 1971. It's considered a C asset. Like I mentioned, a C going to a B area rapidly. And this particular project has 10 buildings. And these buildings are configured with 2 6-unit townhomes, and then we've got 8 4-unit townhomes. And you'll see in just a second here that, well, here, I'll do it right now. It's basically an L shape. So it goes along a fairly busy street, and then the short part of the L's got 2 buildings this way. So it's a very efficient project that way. And you can see it's a typical Georgian style property where you've got the pillars coming down with the roof cantilevered over a little bit onto the porch. So very traditional, built all brick. They're all the same floor plan in here, just so you can see. Here's a few more shots of it right now. So, and it's in very good shape. And the place was running almost full. 1 or 2 units would turn over out of the 44, but that submarket is running in around the 95 to 99%, depending on the month. So it's doing very, very well. So our floor plans, we have, all of them are the same. They're all 2-bedroom, 1.5 bath, 1,150 square foot townhomes. And the great advantage of a townhome, a lot of people like the ability to be able to drive right up to the door. We've got both a front door and a back door on it. And we've got the half bathroom here. And we've also got, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but we've got the washer and dryers in here. And there's enough room over here for a table for the family to sit in. And the living room's a pretty good size as well. And then when you go up the stairs, you've got 2 pretty good sized bedrooms and a Jack and Jill style bathroom that have common doors. So it's a very efficient layout. And the fact that we've got 44 of all the same from a renovation standpoint works out really, really well for us. So we're having some great success. Let me just show you a picture of, this is how it would look right now. And so being in 1971, it's had some updates done to it, but there's still a lot more that can be done. But you get a sense of the kitchen cabinets, and the carpeting is the darker brown, but they tried to paint it in a lighter color. So right now our rents, the rent average in the place is at $725. If you were to rent one as is the way it is there, the current rent is $785. So just keep those numbers in mind for a few minutes. I'll circle back on that. So on this, we bought it for $3.5 million, which is just under $80,000 a unit. Some people would say, whoa, that sounds expensive. When you start looking at that market, no, not anymore. It's going up fast there, very, very fast. We've already had offers, and we've only owned it for a couple of months for $1 million more already. It's just crazy, the demand in that market. So in our case, when we did our underwriting, we kind of said between a 5 to 7 year hold, and our average cash is 8 to 9. That would depend if it's a 5-year or 7-year hold. And the cash is 25 to 27% annual rate of return. But I need to explain how that is, because we are doing a refi and returning some of the capital. So I will touch on that as well a little bit later as well. Basically in this is just kind of summarizing that, we've got this occupancy, it's saying within Fort Oglethorpe itself, it's 99.7. When I talked about the other percent, that was the GSA of Chattanooga, which is a little bit lower. But Fort Oglethorpe itself, it's this nice community that people seem to want to live in. And so it's very hard to even find a place in this area here. So basically, I'm just going to skip over. Oops, sorry. I apologize. I've kind of moved a little too far here. So let's go here to this one. This is just kind of another summary of what we're saying we're going to do. What I've done is modified our presentation deck that we had for our investors. So obviously, when you guys are looking at all these sort of projects, you're always wondering when you're underwriting, whatnot, how am I going to use the funds, the initial source? And in our case, we use bridge financing on this property. And I was able to, through my connection or relationship with Kevin Jenkins of Northmark, he's in North Carolina. I've dealt with him since 2015, since I started there. And I've used a few other brokers. He's not exclusive, but he's done a lot of deals for me over the years. And he was able to introduce me to a bridge company that typically never goes below 10 million. And he vouched for me, and basically he vouched for them. And so we hit it off. They liked the market, and they decided they would do our bridge financing for like it's basically below $5 million, which is kind of unheard of. But we got an incredibly attractive rate. And our rate on it worked out to LIBOR, which is running around 0.05, 0.09, depending where we're at in a given day. And so we were 4.5 over LIBOR. I purchased a 0.5% cap. So it means that I can only ever get charged up to the 0.09 plus the 4.5 plus 0.5, which works out to 5.09. That's my maximum interest I can ever get charged on it. So that's pretty good insurance during our term, which is 2 years in this case. So our plan is to do the renovations, which we've already started, which I'm going to show you later some pictures of, and then to refinance it once we've got the stabilized rents and stabilized pro forma, or actually actual statements that the lender can use, which usually is 3 to 6 months of stabilized financials that you'll need. And then we're going to put agency debt on it. So Fannie or Freddie loan at that time. And we're trying to do it as fast as possible because of our concern that interest rates may actually start to go up here. So that's the basic structure of it. Our renovations basically are, it's a value add. That's what I specialize in. So in this case, we are projecting to push our rents up $265. And what we're doing is we're spending $700,000 on interiors and $350,000 on exteriors. So that basically is just over $1 million, which is a lot of money per unit. But we believe the rate of return, well, we've underwritten it at a certain rate of return, and that will allow us this huge rate of return for our investors. And I'm going to I'll come back to that in a few seconds as well, because that 1050 number that we underwrote, we've already found some very positive news on that. So with this, our interior upgrades, we're really focused on a whole bunch of different things, but on a high level nutshell, basically it's changing the cabinets out. So replacing cabinets, both in the bathroom and the kitchen, all new flooring, fixing the walls, changing all electrical plugs, updating all the lighting in there, all the plumbing, so new sinks, new faucets, all that side, new appliances all the way around, and basically new window coverings. We're not changing the windows. The windows are still in very good shape, so we're good on that side. So basically that's the inside. The exterior, we're actually, the shutters, we originally thought we were going to replace the shutters, but you'll see in the pictures we actually took took them off and put a wood frame around them instead. But we are painting the whole entire building, the brick, to change the look of it. We will be changing out the front porch lights, and we've got some asphalt repairs to do. There was some brick repair to do, especially when it's an older building, 1971. We also had some foundation. We spent $70,000 on fixing up the foundation. The number one complaint in this property when we researched it was spongy floors, and also the property was shifting, so settling, I guess is the proper way to put it. So we wanted to stabilize that just to make sure to stop it. And so we've put the 70,000 in the foundation, but we've also got subfloor repairs of $60,000 because we want to make sure these floors are perfect so we never get another complaint. We've rebranded it, so no longer is it called Cloud Springs, it's called Elements 44. And so there were some drainage issues outside, that we had to do as well that required our attention. And landscaping, we're doing quite a bit of landscaping, although I was just there 2 days ago, and we're going to do some of it now, and then we'll do the rest of it in springtime. So basically, you can see this is the existing kitchen here, and our current rent, if we were to rent it, as I mentioned, is $785. Our renovated is projected to be $1,050, where we've kind of just summarized what I just said in terms of the improvements there. And then basically we've got the exterior improvements I talked about, which you're going to see in a few minutes here, where we're going to paint it and change the look of the building quite a bit. Our financial side here, which of course is what really drives this whole thing, we've got an estimated 5 to 7 year hold. We've got an interest rate. It said 5.25. So we underwrote at 5.25, but in fact, we beat that. So that's a plus. We have interest only for our term, so that's great. We were able to get a bridge amount up to the 3.3 million, 3,350,000, of which basically 860,000 of it, or 850,000 of it, was a bridge loan for the CapEx. So we're drawing that out just starting now as we need it. And we basically use some pretty conservative assumptions on our refinance in 2 years at an interest rate of 5%, and our term for 5-year term, 2 years IO, which probably won't work for a 5-year term. You'd have to probably get up to a 10-year term to get that. And then we're conservative on our refi value. I think there's a slide later on that'll show there is right here, cap rate at refinance. We use 5.75, and then cap rate at sale at 6.25. We bought it at 5.4 going in. We try and generally go a full point, but we decided rather than saying 6.4, we just round down to 6.25. But you'll see on a slide, there's a cap sensitivity. So the individual investor has the opportunity to see what that would mean in terms of the difference there if it was to go up or down accordingly. So this summarizes basically our raise. So we have the down payment of $1,155,000, closing costs of $105,000. It didn't actually come out to that, but this is what we estimated to be the loan point cost of 2%, which 1% goes to the broker, the other percent went to the bridge lender. And we had some immediate expenses such as our insurance, things like that we'd have to, and a bit of working capital as well. And then basically we had the due diligence fee or organization or syndication fee, which is 3% on it. And basically this kind of just summarizes how we saw it with the estimated bridge amount and then the estimate on loan refi. So in this case, we project at $1,050 based on the interest rates that we've used, that we can refinance and pull and give back 60% of all the capital that the individuals have invested at the end of year 2. The interesting thing is that if we get up to 1125, we can actually, with those same assumptions, give them 100% of their capital back. So we're very motivated to get the rents up beyond that number so we can get all the money back to them. The investors will still own their shares or units in the project, so they would just get the cash flow. So when we talk about our rate of return, it gets a little tricky, because if we've returned 60% of the capital, we only have 40%. So if it's $100,000, after 2 years, we only have $40,000 left. And that's the employed capital that's actually being used. And that capital is what we're measuring for the next 3 years, the rate of return on. So it gets really tricky when you're trying to present it to the investors, and tricky to explain. Even more tricky if you said it's 100% back, because it's infinity at that point. But that's a good problem to have, quite honestly. We try and be conservative so that we're not over promising, under delivering. We always want to under deliver, over promise. And then you've got credibility, you've got commitment with people. They trust you. Obviously, you're working to gain their trust, but also it's important that you trust them as well. It's that whole relationship that you want to have with your investors and as people. So basically, you cannot read this, so I'm not going to try and go through this financial stuff, but it's kind of just showing here what the refi would look like at year 2 for the individuals. And then the average cash on cash over this 5-year period worked out to 8.2%. So it's a bit of a curve going up, which it's rapidly going up towards like just in the middle, and then it pulls back a little bit when the interest period's over in this sort of scenario here. This is based on a 7-year, because we always like to show both of them. And then basically this just goes through how it would look like with $100,000, how much money they would end up back. And this is where, as I mentioned, it's got to be based on the capital employed, because here you can see we're giving back $60,000 of their money. So that number skews it a little bit on that side. So when we actually down over on this side, we're saying what's the profit on sale, what's the total proceeds. So we've had to adjust it and get that worked out for the investors on that side. So this is the cap rate sensitivity. So you can see at a 5-year hold versus a 7-year hold, there's a difference, but as our cap rate moves up, obviously the purchase price goes down. So we chose the 6.25 at the 5-year mark and 6.5 on the 7-year, trying once again to be conservative. Right now in that market, you can't buy a product for under, it's around 4.5%, 4.25, 4.5% for something like this right now. In this area here, the market overview, there's just a lot of positive activity in that Chattanooga market. There's just, with Volkswagen being one of the biggest ones that you're going to see there, and the amount of money these people have spent on that facility in Volkswagen, and it is the facility to build all the electric cars for North America. They've also got and spent a lot of money for the technology part of it, where they've got a lot of engineering jobs that have been coming in for the North American Technology Center as well. And then you also see here that you've got Amazon that's come in, McKee Foods, a $500 million expansion to their Chattanooga operation, 482 jobs. And there's a lot more since we did this presentation. Also, Chattanooga is noted for having the first gigaspeed in the US on the East Coast side. And so they attract a tremendous amount of the technology companies, because they've got this huge bandwidth in this market, and it's affordable and it's a good place to live. So they just have that natural attraction here. We had the market comparables, and within our market, we were looking at all the different ones very carefully to see, have they renovated or have they not? And some had, but some had not done anywhere near what we had. And they also had not, they weren't townhomes, except for this village is at Fort Town. That would be a pretty good comparison to us. But that is light, basically Section 8 sort of thing. It's on a program, so they have to keep their rents to a certain level, and people have to qualify and whatnot. So it's not necessarily direct competition for us. But we studied it. We asked 2 property management companies as to what it was they felt they could rent the units for. So we spent a lot of time on it, going through it, coming out with our average per square foot was one methodology. We were just looking straight up at the units, comparing renovated to non-renovated. We shopped all of them. We pretended to be people interested in renting in most cases. Some managers were just good about talking about the property and being very open. So we really got a good feel for it. What I want to do is show you, just going to remind you, okay, so this is how it looked and still does look for a lot of the units. We've got 5 now that we've renovated as of this week, and we put them on the market last week. 3 of them were ready last Friday, a week ago. Over the weekend, I'll just put this, unfortunately this picture's a little bit dark here, but this is now renovated with the cabinets redone, the backsplash, and we're still tweaking things, but we've got all the flooring in here, new carpet as well, and the bathrooms are all redone. And basically we leased 3 over the weekend, last weekend, just with our website, blasting it out in the social media side for $1,200. So we've now raised it up to $1,250. And we personally, internally have targeted at $1,250. So it looks so far, knock on wood, that that's what we're going to be able to rent them for. At $1,250 or even $1,200, we definitely will be returning 100% of the capital back to everyone after 2 years, and maybe even more than that if that's what we all choose to do. I'm just going to remind you of what the exterior looked like. And so we've had a painting program going on, and so now this is what it looks like. So we've just completely changed the look of the property. What you're still going to see is further landscaping happening, but it's significant, especially the way its proximity is on the road. It's a very busy thoroughfare, and so the picture on my right, and I'm assuming it would be on your right, looking down the street, you see all these buildings, and as you're driving down, it makes a statement. There's no question. The corner where the other 2 buildings are and the start of the big row is an extremely busy intersection. We're asking and applying for permitting to put up a 90-degree hitting both corners signage there, just to promote it and with the branding side of it, because we think we can get a lot of traction. We are cash flowing very well on this project. We are full. Basically, we pulled down 5 units so we could renovate them, and we've got 18 more people on a month-to-month in the project, so that's where we're going to target. We will not do it during holidays at all. This is not what we want to do and disrupt the families, so we are targeting to start up February 1st, and we'll be doing 10 units a month as our target. Till it's completed, which would be basically it's going to be 10, 10, and 9 to finish it. So that's kind of my presentation at a sort of high level. I'm just going to stop sharing the screen so I can actually see you guys again, and hopefully I can get back to, there we go. So it's a very interesting project and very exciting, and the Colleen one that we're doing is not too dissimilar. What I'm finding right now is these smaller projects right now, I can get in at a good cap rate, and I can unlock a lot of value that makes a lot of people very happy. So Max knows this, I've been focused on large properties. Like up till recently, I had a 79 unit in there, but take that one out. The next smallest one was 118 units, and it was always usually 250, 220, something like that, where it was a couple of hundred doors minimum. And I always felt, oh, that's the most efficient. But guess what? In that space right now, it's very competitive. A lot of people throwing down a lot of money right from day one. So there's too much capital chasing it. And I found a sweet spot currently of these smaller properties. The key is to have good management, though. And if you can get into this management where the cost makes sense. So when we underwrite, we look at the costing. So you'll have your management fee, and then generally you'll have a cost for the labor or the salaries. We try and we found, and it's worked successfully for us, where we have more like a subscription or per unit price where it's all inclusive. And so, for instance, on Cloud Springs, or now called Elements 44, it's $125 a month we pay for everything, maintenance, the administration, the marketing, everything. And that is significantly less than if we work at the other model. So for us, so far, it's working really well with this management company. We're doing something similar in Colleen, so we'll see. It's a different management company. But if you can work that out, it works well. But for the underwriting, I still put it in the other way for the bank purposes and the investor purposes. I don't want to understate it. I want to make sure in case it doesn't work, I've got the ability to have that ability to switch. And so it's also being conservative. But right now we're picking up extra cash flow because we're cash, I'm going to knock on wood, we're cash flowing really well off this project, even though we're running with 5 units down. We're modeling, we had the meeting today where we're modeling with the management team, what's the maximum? Does 10 work? Can we do 10 a month? Because it's a cash flow game, right? We got to make sure we got enough working capital, enough cash flow to pay the bills. And if it works, we're going for it. We've got extra money. We raised enough money that we've got extra working capital in the bank just in case to help feed it. January is when we start paying our investors the preferred rate of 7%, and it's paid per quarter. But we promised them that, and we're keeping to that. And you know, it's just we're going to make it work. 7% goes to the investors first, and so that's part of the modeling for the cash flow in terms of the renovation. So yeah, so that's kind of it in a nutshell. I'm thinking you may have some questions. If you don't, I got lots more to talk about.
I got a question.
Yeah, sure, David. Yeah.
So it seemed like the way they look, were they all just separate parcels, like separate fourplexes?
Separate? No. I know what you mean, like, but there's some that are sixplexes and then fourplex buildings. Yeah. Row fourplex though. But yeah, that's what it was. And just so you know what I didn't say in that, they actually started building 1969 and they built half of it. And then in 1971, they built the other half. I'm not sure why they did it like that, but there's actually 2 different brick colors and you can tell which buildings were built when. So at the top of the L, the short part of it, that was the last phase that was built. You can just tell just by, there's slight little differences. I mean, effectively the floor plans are all the same, but there's just slight little differences otherwise though.
Okay. One other question is, have you thought about, what's your thoughts on, because the units are so big, what's your thoughts on like maybe condoizing, to probably sell them off as condos or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, that is a possibility as an exit strategy. You know, Dave, I started that way, like in Calgary with that picture that you see. That's what we did. That was our modeling in the first 3 years of multifamily. We took buildings specifically to condoize. And so it's always in the back of my mind as one option. I don't know right now. We'll see which way makes the best sense, because I think we're going to hold on to this for 5 years, would be my guess, maybe 7 if the investors are interested, because I think once we've given everyone their money back and we can get cash flow off of it, and I think Chattanooga's rent markets are going to keep going up a lot because they're not building much there. That's the crazy thing about it. That's what I love. It's squeezing demand, even making it worse. And that's part of the reason why we could rent 3 in a weekend, because there's nowhere else to go.
Okay.
Jay's got a hand up. Go ahead, Jay.
I'm sorry, I have my mic on. On Max's introduction to you on the in the email, it said that you were trying to get over the next year and a half. I think about 3,000 unit or 300, a large amount of units. That's all I can remember. It was a large amount of units. So my
More than
question
30. How's that?
huh?
More than 30.
Okay. So my question is, are you going to stick to that model, or are you still entertaining larger amounts of units? Or are you just going to stay with the smaller amounts?
Yeah, no, I am definitely looking at larger. Like I fly to Dallas on Saturday tomorrow, and I've got tours set up. I've got one property that's just right around the 100 units that I'm very, very interested in, that I'll probably have an LOI. I've got an LOI out on another 106 units in Huntsville right now, about 110 in Nashville right now. So I've got, yes, and I'm not looking at bigger numbers until, so the key here is, John, that I basically, when I go into a new market, I try and buy only a certain size and then step into it. I want to test out, make sure I got the right maintenance people, the right management company. So to me, for me personally, 100 doors seems to be that sweet spot because it's efficient enough for me to get in. I know I've got people on site, and then I can scale from there. So for me to hit my numbers, yeah, I've got to be buying bigger than 100 even, probably like the 150 to 250 range.
Okay. Yeah, I just a kind of an aside. I really dislike looking at this property because I underwrote it wrong and passed on it. Anthony and Jerry both told me that you guys were taking it down, and it hurt my stomach. And these numbers you're getting now, I almost want to cut my camera off. It's ridiculous. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. You know, a big part of it is a little bit of experience can really help recognize an opportunity. And that for me that's come over a long time, right? And so I wouldn't beat yourself up on it because it's tricky with an older property, no question about it. But in our case, so I sponsored students on it, just so we're clear on that. I have over 50% in the project because I invested a lot of my personal money. I shouldn't say mine, my beautiful wife and I's personal money in it. And so we are on the LP in a significant way, but we're also heavily on the management side on this one, because when it came to me, and these students had brought me several others, and I met them through a sponsorship event, that I said, no, not quite right, and here's why. And then they brought this one, and I said, whoa, okay, I think we got something here. And then, help tweak it for them. And I said, that's got really good potential. And then just needed to validate it with the fact that we wanted the management companies to confirm what I'm thinking, because maybe I'm off. I don't know. I could be off. So I always like to get other people to validate what my thinking is. And when I get two other management companies validating my thinking, I'm going, okay, I've got something here. Just like the clean property. I wasn't sure about it because that clean property, we're renting them at $400 a month right now. And there's a sister property built by the same builder. It's a 1965 property we just closed on, and that other one's a 1966. They're renting theirs at $375, and that's a one bedroom, and they renovated theirs substantially, and they are renting theirs at $850 right now. And we underwrote ours at $750, and we're putting a dishwasher in ours that they don't have. We're putting a barn door in ours that they don't have. And so who knows where we're going to end up with it. But the fact is, we're putting new windows in it. We're basically, it's just the brick shell, and we're changing out just about everything in it. But that one is going to make a lot of money. So, but you got to be comfortable with the heavy lift, because that's a heavier lift. And so John, on the other ones that I'm doing, like the larger units, it's a micro, a lighter. I don't get into heavy stuff. But these small ones, I'll do light to heavy. Just depends. So I love, so just please don't, I'm doing both. So I'm going to do larger, but I'm also, hey, if we've got a good small one, I'll take it because they make a lot of money. They make a lot of money.
Okay, awesome. And then, so I think the order of hands are Michael, and then I lost track here. Tarina is asking about the students you sponsored. Maybe talk about the number of students as you talk to Michael. You able to unmute? He's driving right now.
Okay, so you want me to answer the number of students? I am up to this year with that deal, this deal, and I've got another one, like I'm potentially got another one closing by the end of the year. But without that, I'm currently at 10.
Oh, Jim, were you working with students on the Colleen and then this other property as well?
These smaller properties, yes. Yes, the Cloud Springs and the Colleen, which is Soaring Eagle. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, they brought it to me. I didn't find it on my own.
Okay. Michael, there you go. Go
Can
ahead.
you hear
Mike.
me? Oh, hi,
Yes.
Jim.
Hi.
Can you touch on your process of getting the tenants? You said you were targeting ones that were month to month to get them to move out. Do you offer them cash, or what's your process of getting those units available to renovate?
So on the Cloud Springs one, or Elements 44, we've got the right to 30 days give notice, but what we're doing is giving them 60 days notice. Like, I think it's the right thing to do, is to give them a bit more notice. And we will offer them, assuming it's in reasonable shape, they haven't destroyed the place, give them for sure their damage deposit back. So that's what we're going to do to try and make it fair, give them more time to look and work with them. I think honestly, and same with the holiday, I mentioned it, I cannot even fathom during Thanksgiving or Christmas to tell people they have to move. No, it's just not in my nature. So we wait, and we'll wait till Feb 1st. So we're just not going to do anything right now.
Okay, because I see it's important that you hit your targets. You said you want to do 5, maybe 10 per month, just to get those renovated, to get those rents raised up. So it'll be really vital to get them out of the property. But I'm just curious about, do you offer money at any point, or other than their rent return? Like,
So on Cloud Springs, we won't have to. In the one I just closed on today, I think we may do that. And that's more of just to help them, because we have some very low income people. I'm just, out of my goodness of my heart, I will probably offer them $300 to $500 moving dollars just to help them get relocated. I just, here again, I'm not in this just for sheer profit. I'm in this obviously I'm trying to improve the product, but I also am displacing a lot of people, and I'm very sensitive to that. So I think it's the right thing to do. So I will do that in the Colleen one, but this particular one, I think we found the right balance by giving them more notice. It's a different sort of class of people that are in this property.
okay. All right, thanks.
Okay, so, and then thank you, Michael. And then, so I didn't see who waved first, Tyler and David. Tyler, you want to go first and David follow up?
Sure, sounds great. Jim, thank you for presenting. It's great seeing this property now, 6 months later. I remember talking to Manuel and Glee 6 months ago as they were sharing this potential opportunity. So it's really cool to get that snapshot, 6 months later. General question though,
Yeah.
It seems like bridge loans can be a wonderful tool for repositioning. Speaking as someone though that has no experience with bridge loans, do you have any resources or any recommendations for educational purposes, trying to learn more about bridge loans and how they work and how to use them?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Tyler. My resource and how I learned through my mortgage brokers. And so I have a couple of really good mortgage brokers, and they help fill in the gaps. And so generally I find the good mortgage brokers will really help. If you don't know, they'll help lay it out. And then I would ask some of the call it more experienced real estate brokers as well, because they would have familiarity with it because they're trying to structure deals. And so I would just try and take advantage of, call it picking each person's brain as I could. There is definitely a certain amount of structures that can go on with it. I try and keep mine pretty straightforward, quite honestly. I don't want to get too complex with it. And I try and deal with very reputable bridge lenders, ones that have a good, solid track record. Because if you get into some of the other ones, they can make life very difficult for you. And you want ones that you communicate back and forth, and they are reasonable to work with.
That's great. Thank you. And you mind if I throw one more quick question at you as well?
No, for sure.
There's obviously a lot of good that can come out of getting into a reposition that has a significant tenant base that is month to month, but that could also be seen as a red flag. Why are so many tenants in that property month to month? Is it a pretty transient base that you're pulling from there? And really what I'm asking is, I can apply this to my own property I'm looking at right now that has 60% or so tenants month to month. How do you sort through whether that is a positive or a negative, and what that reflects about the surrounding area?
Sure. So maybe just to qualify on the Cloud Springs one, part of our contract, as soon as we went hard, they had to go not renew any new leases. So we kind of forced it to be month to month because we wanted the option to be able to renovate. That said, to your question, because I've looked at properties that are month to month, it is a concern. So you definitely want to see if you can get 2 years of history of the rent roll and see if it's just always been like that. Is it the way, the style of the management company? They just don't care. They're lazy, so they don't renew leases. They don't raise the rents. Like, you have to dig in and find out what's going on. If in fact it is that they are just lazy and running it month to month, then it comes down to your strategy. If your strategy is to renovate, then you better make sure you raise a little extra money in case you get a whole bunch of people leaving on once. And you better make sure that whoever the construction guy is, he can scale up and move quicker. And then you also want to talk to your property management company about absorption. How fast do you think you could lease on a worst case scenario? So plan for the worst, and then hope for the best, or not hope, but work for the best. But if you've got your downside of the worst covered, figured out, you're going to be good. But you need to have those conversations to say, and right now I had that conversation with Vicinia to do with Cloud Springs. Okay, guys, if we're scaled up to 10, what happens if we get 13, 14? And Chris, who's head of construction, says, not a problem. As long as I know a month before, which I would, I can get the extra labor in there to scale it. The problem becomes, Tyler, though, is can I get the refrigerators and appliances and the countertops and all the other parts? So that would be on me to help them try and get that extra stuff in.
Sure. Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet, Tyler.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, David.
Yeah, so I just wanted to ask, because I overheard you saying you're going to walk another property flying out tomorrow. And so I just wanted to ask, you wait till you have the offer accepted before you walk them, or do you walk them before you submit your LOI?
If I lived close to it or I was in the market, I'm going to look at them as soon as I can. Like, I'll even pre-walk it if I can. If I'm not, and as you guys know, I'm Canadian, so if I'm not in the market, then typically I wait until the LOI is accepted. But what I do get is my property manager to be on a FaceTime call with me, something like that. And I have to trust what I'm hearing. If I know someone else in the market, I'll ask them to take a look at it as well and get their opinion on it. So I'm trying to do some reconnaissance or due diligence from the eyes of others. But before I can ever agree to anything, it's just like, that's why I'm down here right now. The Dalton deal, we had the due diligence happening. I needed to see it with my own eyes because the pictures lie in my mind. people can take really good pictures of things, and then you see it, you go, what is that? So I always like to see it. So if I typically like to see it sooner than later, but it's not economically possible for me to keep flying everywhere.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and then Jim, I just wanted you to say one more time to speak your management numbers. I think what you said was 125 per month per unit. So I'm thinking on 44 units, it's 66K-ish for management a year. And then I wanted you to kind of contrast that with the specifics for underwriting. What percent for management for underwriting, and what is there a payroll amount you put in into that underwriting?
Yeah, so typically with these projects, you're going to find at this size anywhere from 5 to 7, sometimes 8%, but 5 is the bare minimum you're going to get charged on them. And I find more times it's higher than that. And then the labor charge, and then they're if you're not careful, these guys want to charge you a release fee, all these other fees, right? And so there's these fees of $50, $100, $200 to release each time we do a new lease and stuff like this. So you got to watch for that stuff because it adds up. And I say, no, can't do that. We're not going to go that way. Either we have to modify it or else you're not the right company for me. And then payroll wise, yes, usually it depends on the number of units. So like 44 units, I would expect approximately about a $40,000 to $50,000 potential cost in labor, because you're going to have part-time people, both from the management and the leasing, and depending how they handle the maintenance. So it could be, I'll say 35 to, in this one, 35. So let me just think about this. So we are at, it'd be about, on this one, about 35 to 45 range. So almost $1,000 a month is really kind of, if you wanted to go at the high end on that. That's why I like the subscription model of 125, because it's all built in. There's no extra fees. It's just there. And so you can imagine that 5% of our revenue plus $45,000, it adds up. And it can make the difference of whether you can buy the property or not. Like, what does the cap rate work or not? So.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you for that. And then Aubrey.
Yes. First and foremost, thank you for your time.
Yes.
Earlier today, I was in a Zoom, and one of the questions that was asked was actually by an insurance broker that's also a short-term renter. That's pretty much what he does, Airbnb in his properties, etc. And he asks, what are your thoughts on allowing short-term rentals with your apartments if their vacancy is available? What are your thoughts?
Well, I would never let my lender know about it, because they usually have wording in it that doesn't allow you to do it. And if they hear that that's part of your business plan, they won't lend you any money. It's a tricky thing, because you can make some pretty good money at it. We look at it. As a matter of fact, in Colleen, we're considering it. We're going to probably take one unit and try it out and see how it goes, and then maybe expand it from there. And basically, if it's going, then I've got some big research to do to find a lender that will go along with it. And we would, within that property, isolate it. We've got enough buildings, we can isolate it into 1 or 2 units away, so we're not disturbing others with people coming and going. That's our thought on it. So I'm not opposed to it. I just don't want it to affect my other tenants, and I sure don't want it to affect my lending ability.
Okay. Well, just so you are aware, majority of them are looking at leasing for 2 years, and in the clause of the contract, going up on their rent every time the lease is up, at least 3 to 5%. So they make it, as some of the kids would say, juicy for you want to do it.
Interesting. Yeah, thank you.
Nice. Okay, and then another follow-up question for me, Jim. You said on this particular property, and I realize you're going to say every property is unique, but on this particular property, the GP split went something like 50% to you. Possibly, did you do sort of a 30% tranche for private equity raising? And does that
25.
mean
It was 25 on this one.
25? Okay,
Yeah,
and
so
then
we had a 30% carve out, and then 25 of the management carve out. That 30% was allocated for capital raising. Yeah.
okay, and then so would the 6-person student team that brought you the deal split the 25 that's remaining, or is there other aspects to the stack?
So yeah, no. Well, in this particular case, it worked out because I was the KP. I was guiding, coaching an awful lot, so I had a lot of time in, and because it's a smaller deal, it was 50% that I needed in order to make it economically work. So yes, Max, it would be splitting it like that. But what I tried to do is encourage them to raise the capital to increase that percentage. And to the point of me actually lending some of my own money so that they could so it could be backfilled. They had people, they just couldn't get it in on time. So I put approximately $400,000 in to help bridge it. And then I got the money back over a couple of weeks.
Okay. And then just one last thought. I know you and I have been on deals, and students are often shocked to hear this, where we would close the property and continue to raise after the property's closed. Just maybe some quick thoughts on that.
Yeah, always want to try and raise the money before. It's always harder after the fact. 100% it is. And also people tend to lose focus on it, unfortunately, within the team, because now they're saying, oh, we've done it, we're feeling good, let's move on to the renovations and whatnot. This Colleen deal, we haven't finished raising all the money, but we've had more than enough to close. We've got a couple of hundred extra thousand in the bank for the capex, but I want another 350,000 more, because we need a lot of working capital to do this one. And so we're still going to push on raising it. In this particular deal, the students that brought it to me felt they could raise all the capital. And I cautioned them that I said the majority of students that have never raised capital the first time think they can, but they don't always achieve it. And I said, I really would encourage you to let me bring in a capital raiser who has experience to back you up. Reluctantly, they did agree. And as it's turning out, this capital raiser, the raise is $1,350,000. And I said, listen, I'll stay out of it at this time, just because you said you can do it all. So I'm staying out 100%. But this capital raiser will end up raising $1 million of the $1,350,000, just to give you a sense of how it didn't really go so well. But I gave them every opportunity I could, but we got down to a point when we're 3 weeks away from closing, we got to put the pedal to the metal and get the money in. So we had to fire it up.
Yeah, it's a hard lesson when you get somebody verbally says, I'll put $1 million in, and the real number is a quarter of that or 20% of that, and that's a hard process to go through.
Unfortunately, it happens a lot. Like people will say, I'm putting 100 in, and it might be 50 or 25. And quite honestly, though, what it is a great experience. I really encourage the people I work with to please do it, because it helps build their business. So maybe it didn't go so well this time, but you know what? All those people, if you stay in contact with them, they're going to invest later, because they're going to say, whoa, it's working. And they're going to be in for sure. So it's not wasted time at all. It's just building the business. You have to build the foundation, right?
Okay, and I hate to cut this off because I love it so much, and thank you to all, but if you'd all go back to the document, let's rate this meeting and get out on time. That's one of our mandates, Jim, is that we end the meeting on time. So everybody return to the document and slide down to where it says the ratings down there and unmute. And let's start with, if you haven't typed already, type it quick or get ready to say it audibly here. Jay, what's your rating?
He's a 9. I think he's off the call.
Okay, got it. Thank you, guys. Tarina?
I gave it a 9.
Nice, thanks. Justin?
I also gave it a 9.
Thank you, sir. Aubrey?
I gave it a 9.
I gave it a 9.5, and thank you so much to Jim, who literally changed a flight tonight so he could be with us. Jim, thank you so much for that. Tyler?
9. Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, sir. David?
10.
Anybody I missed? Call it out audible. Okay, go.
A 9. Thank you, Jim.
Nice. Mark?
Definitely a 9.
All right. Anybody I missed?
Michael, 9.52, Max.
Nice. Thanks, sir. Thank you for chiming in. Okay, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you to you, Jim. And I think
hey,
you
if
guys,
there's anything I can do to help you guys, please reach out.
Jim's
Yes.
contact information is in the document, and I think any of us would be hecka lucky to be in a deal with Jim. So thank you so much, Jim, and I appreciate the hard work you're doing. And thank you to everyone for being on the call.
Thanks, guys. Have a great
Thank
weekend.
you. You guys have a
Thanks,
phenomenal
Jim.
evening.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I'll take care.